All right, we're recording. Brock, take it away.
Cool. So I think we will remember back to last time we did this last month that we talked about doing a hot seat where somebody within the group would basically bring forward some marketing challenge that they had or something that they needed within the business, and that we would take a look at it and talk about it as a group and see if we could maybe help them move the ball forward. So Bryan Parris has raised his hand and said, "Hey, here's my business, and here's some things that are going on." And I think we'd kind of like to dive into that today and explore that. So, and then we've talked a little with Bryan in the past. We put our heads together on this, so this isn't totally cold. I like to be at least a little prepared. But I think at the same time, I think that it is still there's a lot of open discussion on this. So Bryan, why don't you kind of start by taking us through give us a background on your business, what you're trying to do, and kind of and where you are right now.
Okay. So we started our business, kind of as a small, hobby business back in 2009. And I was working other jobs and really didn't become an actual business until 2013. Started at that point because I had to start paying taxes and that kind of stuff. So once you do that, you kind of have to be able to market a little bit to feed the machine. It's not just working for your buddies anymore. So we started growing the business just by doing Facebook. I would say we almost entirely grew the business on Facebook, and that was 10, 11 years ago. So we were able to run ads at that point that would, you could run ads, maybe you still can, but I think they stopped it for a while, but where you could run ads just to get likes to your page. So we were just trying to build an audience. So we got probably, pretty quickly, we got 1,000 people following us, all local. We ran the ads locally, within 20 miles of our city center. So everybody that, was initially a part of that fan group was, we're local people. And so, but as we've grown from to a hobby to more of a hustle to, actually having a, brick and mortar store, and then now expanding twice since then, we've got some capabilities where we're really trying to expand that. We want to grow frequency. That's one of our big things. Is we want to try to find marketing processes and ideas that get people back in the door, for a second instrument or a second time in a year. So because what we saw is that we had 820 guitars last year. But that was 550, or no, that was 550 customers. So 150 customers out of that 550 they came more than once in a year. So we have 400 customers that came here one time last year. So we're just thinking about how can we grow that to people where, people come in the door more often. We don't really have a retail location. So we have a retail location. We don't do retail. So we don't sell guitars, and, people aren't coming in here to buy strings or accessories or anything like that. So we want that. We also are trying to reach new customers because we're kind of at a point now where we have to grow, with a larger location. We're kind of in a place where we've moved, and we're planning for 5 years down the road. So we moved into a place that would accommodate us for the next 5 years. We do a lot of, one of the things that I thought about is, as far as frequency goes, all of those 150 customers that came more than once, like they just have large collections, and we work for a lot of older guys who have large collections of guitars, and they, some of them don't really even play very much. They just want to make sure all their guitars are okay. So they bring them in. So if we can figure out a way to market to people with larger collections, and the other thing that we're really looking for is a regional reach. So instead of, while initially we started marketing to 20 miles from our city center, we want to expand that to 100 miles. So how can we expand that to be more of a regional place for people to bring their guitars, and it's not unusual for people to drive that far.
And I think you mentioned too that you're the only person or the only shop locally with a Plek machine, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and that's what's driven the people driving 100 miles.
Right. Okay.
And so how do you let people know about the Plek machine? I mean, how do you get the word out about that? Just word of mouth?
Well, the Plek website is, I mean, so people are looking for Plek. Plek has a Plek finder on their website, so they're able to find us through that. And so a lot of people will come in and say, I found you on the Plek website. We've also done a few, like the Facebook calls them awareness ads. So we had a videographer come in and do a few videos for us, and we've put those out there. Some of them are specific to the Plek machine, but I don't want to that's not our main thing. I mean, we're a full service repair shop, and the Plek definitely gives us the capability, or at least the capability to do things a little bit more quickly and efficiently than we did by hand. But the Plek machine it's definitely been a marketing tool, for us. But we've done most of that through Facebook and just word of mouth, because when people find out, that we've got the machine, instead of, paying Sweetwater, to do, there's 3 guitars in my shop right now, and the guy he's already driven to Indiana and took 7 guitars to Sweetwater to have them Pleked, in Indiana, and he lives here. He just didn't know we had the machine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whether or not the machine is, just a productivity tool for you, right, versus not. But if people perceive it to have some magical and mystical qualities, I mean, it could be something that brings people into your shop, at least for the first time,
Yeah.
And so you were talking before about the 400 people that don't come back again. And then you were talking a little bit about the customers that do, and you say the customers that do have large collections. What do you know about the customers? Particularly, I'm wondering about those 400 that don't come back. Do you know very much about them, or like how many guitars do they have, or how much do they
Well,
play?
and I will say that I don't, because we changed our customer system about a year and a half ago. I don't have a lot of data from year to year about how many of those 400 customers have been. I'm sure that half of those customers are repeat customers.
Okay.
They just didn't come within that calendar year of 2024.
I get you. Okay.
Okay.
And then, what have you done in terms of any kind of loyalty or any kind of like to try any way to basically take those same customers and bring them back? I mean, what tactics have you done so far?
Yeah, so we just started this back in November, but we've started an email campaign. When someone's a new customer, we send them an automation of 3 emails, and I think I sent those to you. But the first one is kind of just a thank you, and ask them to leave us a Google review. And so we're really pushing Google reviews. That's another thing I should have mentioned, is that a lot of people find us through Google. We've got a really good Google presence. So we ask them for Google reviews, and we've got a lot of nice 5-star Google reviews that I think really helps us. And people always come in and say, oh, your reviews are great, because they've read all that stuff, and people do read that stuff. We actually have a script that puts those Google reviews on our website. So there's a page on our website that just has miles and miles of Google reviews.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have
So,
you done anything with any of the other reputation management systems like Yelp or Trustpilot or any of those other things?
we have not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We do have. I mean, we've claimed our name on most of those places, but we've not ever done any real. I had a bad experience with Yelp in another business, a few years ago. So
yeah,
I've tried to steer away from them, but
sometimes it feels like paying protection money. That's for sure.
it does. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how many emails do you have on your email list?
About 2,000.
Okay, 2000. And what service are you using?
Right now we're using for automations, we're using a service called Klaviyo,
Klaviyo.
Klavi.
Absolutely.
Klaviyo, yeah. So that's what we're using for our automations. We've got that set up when somebody pays an invoice, we use Zapier to send that information over to Klaviyo, and it starts the email process. So the first day they get that first email that's a thank you from me, personal letter kind of thing from me. The second one is just a reminder that comes up 3 days later. It goes and it's a reminder of our 30-day warranty. So we have a 30-day setup warranty, which anybody would do. I mean, any good shop is going to stand behind their work, but just us saying that, just us putting them out on the website and saying, we have a 30-day warranty, it means something to people that they can bring their guitar back by and we'll tweak the action or whatever. They don't need an appointment. And then
Yeah, that's great.
after 2 weeks after that, they get a $20 coupon where they can come back in. And so if we charge $100 for a setup, so they could get a setup for $80, or they could get a plec job for $255 or whatever. So it just they could use it on anything. They could use it for a guitar cable or strings or whatever. So we're just giving them $20. We only do that for the first time. If they came a bunch of times, they wouldn't get that automation over and over again. It's only for the first time they're in that.
And so if they come back a second time or a third time, is there any automations that go out as a result of that?
There's not.
Okay. And then how many of those coupons, those redemptions are you getting? How many of those are people are bringing in?
We started doing that in November. So we've really only had a couple months to really test that because we started it in November. The coupons don't go out until 2 weeks after their transaction. Then we're closed, for half of December. So, but we've taken 7 or 8 of those $20 coupons.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. And then you were saying about some of your customers are driving in from like 100 miles away. What is the footprint of your customer base? I mean, do you have people mailing you guitars and stuff like that, or is it a situation where most of your traffic is all local?
We don't. I really wouldn't want that. I mean, I would do that if I needed to, but to me, that's the same thing as, having Sweetwater, plec your guitar. I mean, maybe it didn't even need it, and so those people coming in from out of town are almost 100% plec related jobs.
Okay. All right. Allie, do you have any other thoughts or questions at this point?
I don't think so. The only other thing I wanted to note is you mentioned to us, and I want to confirm this, that you have the capacity to expand your intake by about 30% is the goal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Okay. Well, Allie, why don't you kind of walk through some of the things that you had come up with, and then I'll kind of add some of my thoughts on top of that, like that page I sent you a little while ago.
Yeah. So I think I'll kind of start with from where we're sitting, taking in this information from you. I'll kind of go through a SWOT analysis. So your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, things that we perceive, you might have areas to expand a little or, where your opportunities might lie. So as far as strengths go, you've got some really great things going for you. I would say the fact that you can expand your intake by about 30% is great. Again, I know it's not the only selling point, but if you're getting customers from this, being the only local business with a plec machine is something else worth considering a strength and worth calling out. And you do have an existing email list that's a pretty good size and start of email automations, which are both great things. Going into some of the weaknesses. So you've done some digital advertising, but have an underdeveloped strategy there. So, that could use some development. Same with your customer communication strategy. Again, you've sort of started working toward that with the automations. But there are some other things that I think we can suggest you implement there. And then a lower number of return customers relative to your overall number of customers, or at least lower than you would like to be seeing. Opportunities is definitely the biggest section, so that's always a good thing. But you'd mentioned to us, and I guess you mentioned this to us, and maybe you can speak to it a little bit now as well, but you do have some sort of unofficial partnerships with local music stores and recording studios. And I think there's a great opportunity there to formalize those partnerships, build out a referral system. We'll get into specific recommendations in a little bit, but you'd mentioned that, lots of music stores locally are sending people your way. The recording studios are sending people your way. So there's an opportunity there to kind of lean into that and formalize that referral system. Also have some opportunities with advertising. So I would say Google ads primarily for sales, driven by sales goals, and meta ads, so Facebook, Instagram, aimed more at awareness. So one more kind of beginning of the pipeline, the other closer to the end. I also think, and you've got a great start on this with the coupon you're sending in that third email, but loyalty or VIP programs, and again, formalizing those a little bit, building them out so it's really clear to the customer and you have a clear path for them to make it exciting for them to come back, incentivize that. The other couple ones I had there were retail offerings. And you do offer that 30-day warranty, which is amazing. You do call that out. I think lean into that. Again, most people will offer something along those lines, but there's a perceived value there. Whether the value is any different, it might not necessarily be, but if you're calling that out and you're making people aware of that, there's an additional value to them coming to you with their guitars. And then the other opportunity would be social media. So some things you could do there to grow a little bit on there. Again, that would be more awareness, but also help build your relationship with your customers. For example, we use our Instagram to highlight a lot of people who are our customers, also active in the industry, et cetera, et cetera. So as much as it is a marketing channel, it's also a relationship building function for us. And I think you have an opportunity to do that as well. And threats, I've just got one that would be kind of seeing a plateau there or not seeing that growth that you're aiming for. But I think Brock and I have some things to immediately recommend that can help, avoid that and help you reach your goals.
Cool. Coming back to the referral part of it, can you talk a little more, Bryan, about the referral piece of it? And then the other question I was going to piggyback onto that is, what are you doing in terms of like factory warranty work?
Yeah, we do no factory warranty work. That's not really been an interest for us. Not saying it couldn't be. It just has not been something I've really wanted to do. Had some opportunities, to do that, but it's just not something that I've, really felt like was super beneficial in our business. The referrals, the relation you're talking about, the studios and the music stores, those kind of things.
Yep.
So I've just been, this suggestion came to me from someone else that doing like, so I did not read the book, but a friend of mine had read the book, and it was called Dream 100. And it was basically you building out, 100 people that you really want to build relationships with. And so the story in the book is, someone who built a whole, empire basically, just by focusing on relationships. So I've been trying to be intentional about that. And that's really helped a lot, with professional musicians that play in town, following their bands and, checking in on them. And The owners of the music stores, not going in and saying, hey, we want to be your repair guys, but just building a relationship and, making ourselves available to, to help when needed. And then just, we've got several, recording studios in the area. And I guess probably because we're so close to, we're close enough to Nashville that we kind of have a little bit of that, that feel, but far enough away that there's a lot of those things that are duplicated here. So we have a lot of, really good, recording studios that have lots and lots of instruments. Plus they know lots and lots of musicians. And so we've gotten a lot of referrals through those. The music stores, it's kind of, all of the music stores refer their hard stuff to me, but they'll do a lot of the easier stuff, in-house if they do that. I only have one music store that does not have, repairs in-house, and they just say, we don't want to be a repair shop. You need to take it to Bryan. And so we kind of work with them, and when they need something done, they get a 30% discount, and we do setups for them for like $70, and so that's worked out really well. I don't know that that's a model that we can duplicate for shops that like Guitar Center. Guitar Center is going to do setups, and they're going to install pickups and those kind of things, but whenever there's something broken, they give my number out.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so I'm, thinking about like things that I've seen that have worked really well before, right? So like one is email. I think in terms of organic business, email is probably the number one driver. And you've got, well, first off, let me before I get into any of this, I will say I think you've done a great job. I think you've got a lot of the pieces in place, and I think you've done a lot of good work here. I mean, a lot of times when we kind of come in and sort of talk to folks about stuff like this, it's like there's either big holes missing out of their marketing as a whole, in general, or that they really haven't done hardly anything. They've had a little bit of success through word of mouth, and now they're kind of struggling about where do we go from here. So I think you've done a lot of really good work. But anyway, now let me jump back in the email. Email is, to me, it's like I think one of the best ways for companies to grow, a little or big. But I mean, certainly, I think when you're little, I think it makes a lot of it makes a lot of impact. I mean, there's an old saying is like, the money's in the list, and 2,000 is a pretty good sized list of a local market. I think to me, it's like the first thing I would really look there to do is to say, how do we make that list 10,000? How do we make that list bigger? So, a couple thoughts around that are lead magnets. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet about this. I've come from a world of email, and this was something that is just stock and trade, where you give something away for free in order to exchange it for that email address. I mean, that could be anything from, it could be coupons and things like that. I mean, or it could be like info products they could download, or it could be anything. I mean, so it could be, setup specs, how to know if your guitar needs a tune-up, how, here are the kinds of, here's 3 things you can try. You think you've got a problem, here are 3 things that you can try at home. That didn't fix it, bring it to me. That kind of thing. I think a fishbowl could be a great way. So, clearly you've got some foot traffic coming in there. So, for instance, if you had a good giveaway of something that you did as a fishbowl, and probably what I would do if I was in your shoes is I would see if I could get somebody to sponsor that, meaning not pay for it yourself. And
can you define that?
Yeah, so like for instance, everybody that comes into the shop, like the chances are good that you're probably not getting the email address of everyone you come in contact with, right? You're getting the email address of some of the people you're coming in contact with. This would be a way to put something so juicy in that fishbowl that now you have all those contacts, right? So I don't know, let's pick a thing. You're going to give away a guitar, you're going to give away an amplifier, you're going to give away something, right? You get somebody to sponsor that for you. And then every month, every quarter, every so often, you do a drawing and then announce it out into your socials, push it out into the world so people can actually see like that there's a reason for getting in on this thing. and that you're picking up all those email addresses. So now you have the permission. So your 2,000 list might be 3,000. I don't know. I don't know how many people you come in contact with, but that has generally been a pretty good way to build a list.
Yeah, our email list is 100% people that we've worked for.
Okay. And how many people come in that you don't actually do work for? I mean, is there many?
It's rare, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the things that I think might be helpful, and you can give me your feedback on this, is I'm considering putting something on the website, where people can get a quote, online, or at least an estimate, because what I'm thinking is we don't really start a conversation with people until they've already researched us online and decided to walk through the front door. So if we can come up with ways to engage them on the internet, or on Facebook, on the website, or whatever, maybe we've got a forum there or whatever. I think that would help us to be able to start those conversations earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus we get email addresses.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. And then one other thing, while you're collecting those email addresses, if you digitally remember where you got them from, so you would know your sources. So you could segment that list and send out people like, hey, we gave you a quote, 6 months ago, kind of a thing. I just wanted to check in and see how your instruments are doing. Is there anything we can do to help? Let us know. Yeah. Maybe not something quite that, garish, but something to that effect. I mean, right. The other thing that I've seen work kind of well, I think this has been more from like a music store point of view, but I think it could work for you, is doing an event like a restring clinic. Like, take a Saturday, bring in some kind of, like, if you've got, like, let's say regional celebrities kind of a thing, maybe a social media celebrity that might be kicking around that you might be able to do a deal with, bring them in for a meet and greet, and then just do a string change while they're there. They get a free set of strings and a free tune up, and you also could give them a 10-point inspection, if you will, to say, hey, like, this guitar could probably play a little better if you did this. Just some real quick, but that could also generate some leads and build your email list.
Yeah, Diadario
email for registration. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that's okay. I was just going to say, Diadario will do that for us. They will set us up with a restring clinic and send us strings to use, and it's all part of. If anybody doesn't do this, the string recycling program that they do, it's all kind of through that, and so we've got the big recycling bin from Diadario out in our lobby, and so it's all kind of connected through that. They want you to do as a restring clinic as part of the recycling program.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that makes sense. And like I said, and then if what you did is, like, say you wrapped around, like I said, some social media celebrity, a local celebrity, somebody you're not paying a lot of money to. Obviously, you don't want to get into that, but but somebody that you could use as a sort of a magnet to draw people in, that would be helpful too. And then the other piece of the email thing is I think frequency matters, right? So I would be sending at least biweekly. So, and I'm biweekly, I mean every other week, not twice a week. Your frequency could certainly go up from there, but I would make sure, because otherwise that list isn't warm, and you need that list to be warm. And then my overall strategy, now obviously I know everyone on this call gets StuMac emails, so what I'm going to say flies in the face of what you see coming from us every day, but I think that's a little different. Is I very much believe in a philosophy that Gary Vaynerchuk put out probably more than a decade ago now, which was called jab, 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 right hook, and which is sort of a give, and then ask, right? So I think that those emails, when people get them, they need to provide value to the opener. Like, right, it's not about you, it's about them. What are you giving them of value in there? So, like, for instance, as we're in the winter months, maybe it's a conversation about how to keep your guitars well hydrated in the winter. What are some do's and don'ts, and what are some things to look for if you've got a problem. What might be the cause of your buzz, and again, you're not teaching them to be luthiers. All you're really doing is just sort of teaching them to spot problems that they ask. And of course, then the other part of it is if you need any advice, you need any help, whatever, I'm here, let me know. Right. So that's the gentle ask for the contact, because really all you want them to do is just raise their hand. That's all the email needs to do. Just get them to raise their hand. The other is, I think that the Google and Meta, I think are opportunities for you. And as Ali mentioned before, that if I was in your shoes and I was investing, I would put most of my money into local keywords on Google. They're going to cost more in terms of the cost per click, but everything that all of our experience is that they convert better because there's more intention. If somebody is sitting down for guitar repair or, a guitar setup or whatever, they're already thinking about it. They're in market to buy something like this versus an Instagram or a Facebook ad, which is you're getting in front of the right kind of customer. And now you have to sort of convince them that they might need the thing that you're actually selling. Now I know you did well with this in the beginning, and I think awareness is super important, but I think to me that's more a part of a social strategy of getting a bigger audience, a bigger footprint out there to just stay in front of with your content, because I think awareness is going to be a big part of it. But I think in terms of actual ads to drive business, that would be two things I would look at. And then, and just a couple other things. I think in your referral business, I'm a little unclear on how much you want to grow that side of the business. Like, for instance, I think you were saying that it was like a 70% job versus, 100% job. And maybe that wasn't like, if you scaled that really would kind of change the economics of the business. But, I think in that, it's like, I think formalizing that in some way, like, for instance, if you had some kind of a give back program that said, look, if you refer more than X number of jobs to me, I'll do this for you, right? And it could be a service, but it could be monetary. It could be whatever, right? I mean, you could basically, do something for them that they need. And I think it's going to depend. Like, for instance, a recording studio might want something entirely different than Guitar Center would want, right? So I think each one of those kind of looks a little different. And then just a couple other, just like things I was thinking about that really kind of don't fit neatly into those categories. I really like this idea of surprise and delight, of things that people aren't expecting that just leave them with a good feeling. Like, for instance, one of the things I've seen done very well in the past is just a handwritten note. It's just stick a handwritten note inside their guitar case, and tell them thank you for the work, and we really appreciate your business and it means a lot to us. And if we can ever do anything else, let us know. I mean,
I'll have my wife write that. My handwriting's terrible.
Well, yeah, but what I mean, but it's like just something that's simple. It's like it makes people feel good about doing business with you, and I think that's really, it's hard to put a value on that. The other thing I think is kind of a sort of a related idea to this is, what if you did almost like a Sweetwater thing and you put a little pack of picks in in every job you did, every job that went out, and on that pick, you basically turn it into money, right? You say, hey, this pick is good for $10 off your next service, whatever it is. Well, certainly the person who had the work done, could bring their next guitar in and get $10 off, or they could give those to friends, and then their friends could bring in. So whatever, it's basically like your own currency out there floating around. And, and again, it's like, I think at some point you sort of say, how many of these are we getting? And do we need to sort of, do we need to factor this into our pricing? Right. In a lot of ways, like StuMac does that. Like, I mean, our lifetime promise, which, we're very committed to, but at the end of the day, it's a math problem, right? It's like how much of this stuff comes back to us, and how do we factor that into, our business economics overall? And I think it's the same thing with you. So I think I think that could be potentially something that could get, some, make some business happen. I don't know how much. I don't know. I guess it really just sort of depends. But I think over time, I think it would work. And then the kind of, I guess the final thing on my notes list here is that, what if you started a loyalty club with the people that came in, like Bryan's Guitar Care Club, right? And you build this tiered structure that's permanent, that says, hey, once you brought in more than X number of repairs, you are now, a silver member and you get X% off all your jobs. And you bring in, or, potentially if it's you're the jobs you bring in or you refer, that could do it. And then, and maybe like you give some special perks, like 4 times a year, I'll change your strings for free or whatever. Now, how many people honestly that are big, guitar players or whatever are going to bring their guitars in to have somebody else string them for them? I don't know, maybe not very many, but it feels like it's a good perk, and you probably won't have to do nearly as many as what it sounds like you will. And it sounds like you've already got a way to do that via the D'Addario kind of a relationship. So anyway, point being though, is like, I think that create some kind of loyalty thing where you get lock in. And that I think that could potentially be something that'd be valuable too. So with that, that's kind of the end of my ideas. I mean, I certainly would be curious to hear what everybody else thinks about this too.
I'll start calling on people.
Do it. Why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us what you think?
Oh, this is
It's a long time.
I'm the worst at this. I spent all my time working for other people, so I just kind of like hid in the back fixing guitars. So I'm probably the worst to talk about this. You know who might be good at this is Evan Gluck. Are you there?
Evan Gluck is here.
Do you do anything special for your customers?
I let them come back. No, I'm serious.
See, that's it. He lets them come back. That's it. That's the special.
I'm of the philosophy that there's not a single thing I'm going to do where I'm going to make less money just to keep you as a customer. So I agree with everything that Brock and Ali said. It's just not, I haven't needed to use it, but I've been around in New York City for a really long time. So.
Okay, so you're the wrong person. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's just you need to, but here's what I will say, Brian, and this has always served me so well, is do work for the teachers, people who teach guitars. Are there any jazz players in your community?
There are. We actually have a really well-known jazz school at the University of Tennessee. One of my employees is a graduate of that jazz school, and there's a lot of jazz players in our town.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Jazz players are not living large, so they're teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their students, as they get better, because they're playing jazz, they are not living large, so they're teaching also. So what happens is you get this pyramid thing of teacher, student, teacher, student. So I can't tell you how many customers I have that are just students of jazz guitarists who now teach and then refer their students to you. So it just becomes this big trickle down thing.
That's a great suggestion. I'm going to add that to my list with the music stores and the studios. You're right about that. Yeah, we do get that all the time. My teacher said that this needed a setup, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. The other thing is, this is going to sound weird, but it's something that I do every week. Is I do a free repair for a week, and I don't plan it; it just happens. And when you do that, and it could be a truss rod adjustment, it could just be something small that is showing the customer that I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I'm here to help. That really, really spreads around and gives you the good karma kind of vibe. And in reality, I'm doing it for completely evil capitalistic reasons because I know exactly what it does as far as spreading the karma around. But,
it could be for both. You can be both. It's not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
It is the way Evan does it.
Yeah, my free repair yesterday was for this 70-year-old guy that came in with a Squire neck that was all backbowed, and I just fixed it. He's like, "How much can I give you?" I said, "Nothing." And he's just kept trying to give me money. And I said to him what I always say is, it will never be confusing to you if I think you owe me money. So it's just, and that word will spread around. And you then become the nice guys, I do have a customer, so I got to jump off, but I am going to charge him. I'll be right back.
Okay, see ya. Yeah, and I think what Evan was just talking about kind of falls under that surprise and delight idea that we were talking about. I don't know that it matters what it is, but I think just that kind of thing, I think really in the long haul, makes a big difference. What else? Who else? Other ideas?
Yeah, I really like the pick thing that you were saying, like pick in the back that anytime somebody comes back, and actually making that a bit cheaper. If it's worth a free set of strings on a setup, it's 10 quid to them, but only like £3 to me.
Right, exactly. That high perceived value. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I like that. The other one was referrals from the music stores.
Uh-huh.
I've just done something with the one that I do, and I've given them an iPad which is locked to the booking form. So it's reducing the amount of like steps it takes to them going into that music shop, asking about getting a setup, them giving them a business card, going home, going on the website, looking at, like the staff at the music shop now just give them the iPad.
Uh-huh.
And in a week, I've actually seen an uptick in bookings.
Yeah, that's great. A QR code would function pretty well too. That's a
Do
great
not
idea.
do the QR code.
That didn't go well?
No, boomers do not know what a QR code is. And literally I threw away 1,000 business cards with QR codes on them because they were completely useless. Yeah.
Maybe in another 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Other folks?
So wait, you just left an iPad at a shop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know the guys at the shop really, really well.
Oh, okay.
They're also gonna sort me out a like an anti-theft thing, so it's always on the front of the counter, so they don't have to get it out. They can just point people to that and just go book your guitar in with him.
You can just 3D print something the whole day on an AirTag.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring all that Bluetooth stuff together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thing with those like $50 fire tablets too, for kind of keeping the cost down. Just that for a few of my drop-off locations.
Oh, so this is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, there's a kiosk software that you can load onto tablets, and basically it'll turn off all the functions. Have it when people walk up, it'll automatically turn on the screen, and you can turn a $50 tablet into a functional thing.
Brock, did you know about this?
I didn't. Yeah.
All right. This is new to me.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We might have to do Buck and Andy, we might have to do a show with you guys showing us how this works in practicality.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to hear.
I got a tablet I can set up, and I'll do it at one of my shops.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, what that also means is every customer interaction, I get an email.
Yeah.
So hopefully now I've got a
list.
big set of emails.
Yeah.
And I can now use that to start doing some marketing with. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
Brock, you like emails, right? You like a big stack of emails.
Yeah, email's great. I mean, it's I really think that the bang for the buck for a small business is the best thing you can do. I mean, it takes a minute to build that list, but once you've got it, I mean, it's like, and if you've built it well, and you, like I said, and you do that whole give, and then an ask, that it just makes business happen. So, I mean, even for StuMac, I mean, it's like, I know we're very promotional on our email, and it's really the most promotional channel that we have, because, we don't really sell at all in social or YouTube or anything like that. And it's, it's our second biggest channel outside of digital advertising. So yeah, I mean, so it works. I mean, and it scales. So
maybe I wasn't paying attention. I was doing some other crazy stuff. But Bryan, are you currently doing a weekly email or a bi-weekly email?
I am not. We've given some thoughts to email campaigns, but we really haven't done anything except for the follow-up. What we're doing is a follow-up email with new customers. So it's an email automation that sends 3 emails out over a span of 2 weeks after a customer has closed out a closed out a tab. That's not exactly what we do, but once they pay an invoice, it starts this automation where they get 3 emails over a 2-week period.
Yeah. Do you get Nate Wood's email? Are you on his email list? Or are you on Jerry Hayes's email list?
I'm not.
It can be, it can just be something to let people know, what's going on at the shop. If you're all of a sudden you are doing a Go acoustic pickup install and you're just like excited about it or something like that. Like it really can be, something that is, interesting. And then you like Brock says, was 2 jabs and then a cross.
Yeah, jab, right hook. Yeah.
But even it doesn't have to be like anything other than just saying, hey, we got cool stuff going on down here. Your shop renovations, like that can totally be, email stuff.
Right. And that's the kind of stuff that we used to do on Facebook. And it worked really well on Facebook, even up to 5 years ago. We don't get quite the traffic on Facebook that we used to, but in the beginning, I just posted photos. This is what we're working on today. And it was like, I called it guitar porn at the time because the guys would be like, we got like 500 likes, from a picture of a Les Paul that you could see 12 of them just like it, at the Guitar Center.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't considered doing that type of thing through email.
Well, one thing about the email is it's, other than the spam folder, you're not reliant on Facebook's capricious algorithm. So, all of those social media things, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, you're completely reliant on whether or not somebody's going to see it on their algorithm. So, as long as you stay in somebody's good graces and they don't slide you into the spam folder, they're at least going to see your headline, Is it a technical thing? Do you know how to set up an email list from your website?
Oh yeah, well yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
No, I can do that. That's not the issue. It's just we just haven't done it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that software system he's using, Klaviyo, that's a world-class system. That's a big system. I mean, we use their competitor, but yeah, that's a good one.
I like it because it makes the emails pretty. It's just an easy way to make them look really nice.
Got a lot of power too. I mean, like all those automations, it's like you can have a lot of branching in there. Like if they opened it or didn't open it, or they watched the thing, you watched the video. But if you connect that with Zapier, like, and you say, go watch this video, and and if you would know if they did or didn't watch that video, and then so you can branch it off in all kinds of different directions. So you can really kind of personalize it to them. So
is that do you pay per email on that service, or is it?
I mean, yeah, I don't know kind of at the small business level, but at the level like we are, you kind of buy it in a tiered package. So if you send between X and Y number of emails per year, it costs this much.
For mine, it is per email address. So it's how big is your list, and there are some limits of how many emails you can send out in a month, but it's free up to 250. And so we haven't reached 250 yet with our new customers. So we're not putting our whole 2,000 person list in there yet. We're just populating that Klaviyo list with the new. Every time somebody pays an invoice, they go on that list, and we haven't reached 250 yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool.
We might have to have an email show.
Yeah, well, funny you say that. So boy, you just segued right into the next thing we want to talk about. So what our thinking was, I mean, what we talked about last time is that every other session will be a hot seat. So next time we do this, we will do a topic, and we'll pick a topic and we'll talk about that. And then we will ask people to raise their hands for the hot seat. Now we already have a couple people that have already raised their hands for future hot seats. So we've got a couple of those.
I've got some questions too, just about generally, and just give like a thumbs up or something, or send us a message after. But was this format helpful? Was laying it out like this good? Are there other things you'd like to see? Did you get ideas? And along with that, I have a short PowerPoint with all of the information kind of dissected that we talked about today. So if anyone wants to go back or kind of look and be like, what might apply to me? I'll send that to you and Grace, Ian. So that'll be available. But yeah, I'm just curious if this works well, because as Brock's saying, we're thinking we'll alternate between a topic and one of these.
I like this. I think, we need to get somebody in there that needs the help a little bit more desperately than Bryan next time. But Bryan, you seem like you got it together, buddy. Like,
Well, I've put a lot of thought and time into
mhm.
growing the business. But then, there's some things that I do need help with, and the main thing that the reason I sent in my submission for the hot seat is because I'm just really trying to increase frequency. I just really want to try to get people in the door more often, and I want ideas to help us be a little bit more regional in our reach. Ideally, I'd like to have a local ad group where I'm focusing on the guys that are still that old group within 20 miles of us, but then also maybe I can't spend as much on on the 100-mile group, and I may just try to target some cities like Lexington, Kentucky, or Chattanooga. But I've had people drive all the way from Nashville just to get a Pleck job, and there's a Pleck machine right there in Nashville. So, but Glazer's got an 8-week turnaround, so they can get their work done a lot faster by coming here. So it's been interesting to see that grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also want to talk about our next topic, and I think talking about the advertising, Brock and I got into this with before you even get to the advertising, right? You have to be able to know what successful advertising is going to look like for you. So sort of goal setting and what success looks like, benchmarking for success. So that's one topic that we kind of discussed as something that might be helpful. And I'm going to put each one of these separately in the chat and give it a thumbs up if that's the one you'd like to see next. And we'll just kind of take account that way. But understanding what success looks like, benchmarking. The second would be the power of email. So email advertising, email marketing. And the third would be utilizing Instagram for your business. So I'll pop those in the chat and give us a vote for whichever one is most appealing to you.
And a vote is a thumbs up. Is that what you want on that?
Yeah, thumbs up, reaction, and anyway, just give it some sort of something there so I can tell how many we have.
Yeah, and I think on all of these, I think it's going to be a much deeper dive. I mean, so like for instance, on the Instagram thing, it's like, how do you, first off, what kind of content should you make? How do you make that content? I mean, how much time and energy should be put into it? How do you get your account to grow? And then how do you monetize the account? So, I mean, I think it's more than just, kind of the surface level. Here's what Instagram is. Same with email. I think that, again, I think we can sort of come back and show you some big rocks of, again, like how to grow a list and then how to monetize against it. And then just some of the nuts and bolts of kind of what goes into building a successful email program. We talked about automations. Those are super powerful, but those are not necessarily the first place to start.
We've got a few questions in the chat. Yes. So Grace, the sort of homework or action items is what I call them in the, but I'll set away, and they're bigger categories, right? We don't go as specific in those as we did when we were just talking today. But the big three we have there are fully utilize and continue to grow the email list, experiment with advertising, and formalize the referral business.
Yeah. Bryan, the AdWords, I mean, the AdWords thing. Yeah, we're definitely going to go over that. I think what we're thinking about doing there is we're probably going to bring somebody in to be a guest for us on that. Somebody that can actually do a demo and show like, here's what buttons to push, kind of a thing. Like we'll go in and start building some ads in that. So we're going to work on finding who that right person is to bring into a future one of these.
Yeah, that would be great. I have an AdWords account, but I have only used it for, my specific name, people looking for Bryan Parris Guitar Repair or Parris Guitars. I just didn't want them to miss us, even though it would be hard for us to miss because we pop up everywhere anyway. But I've never done anything specific. I just wanted people to be able to find us, and people click on that. So people will look for Parris Guitars and they'll click that ad, and I see them click it and we pay for it.
Yeah. And I think there's, probably a lot of others too. And then there's also too, looking at the tangential, like for instance, like, and again, we spend a lot of time thinking about stuff like this, is that if they're looking for Bryan Parris guitars, that you could kind of say that ad is just a navigational aid, right? They're already looking for you, right? And it's not saying you shouldn't run the ad. It's just saying that they probably would have found you anyway. That, maybe what you should be looking for is, guitar setups in Knoxville, or, things kind of around that are like less brand specific. So again, those are all part of, I think, that conversation when we have it, like, where is the best place to do it? And then also too is about how to do evaluations. So like our keyword universe is, at least 100,000 words. I mean, so somewhere between 100,000 and a million words that we put out there, and that we're constantly going out there and looking at that and saying, look, what's the cost per click? Because the cost per click isn't really the thing that really drives the main motivation. It's ultimately, what is the cost per sale? And that ties into conversion rate too. So, like for instance, you may look at something and say, man, this is not a good keyword, but you're like, yeah, but it drove 5 sales, it didn't cost us very much. So we want to do that, right? The long tail strategy versus the golden keyword idea. So anyway, just all things to talk about in a future episode.
Yeah, and it looks like we're currently at 3 on all of them. Andy, to answer your question, benchmarking is basically giving yourself a parameter with which to measure your success. So some sort of standard or measurement to mark your success against. So I can say, I want more customers, but okay, you want more customers relative to what?
Yeah. I think some of it is defining what success looks like, and part of defining that is understanding where you are right now. So that benchmarking is sort of saying, here's what baseline is.
Yep. Yeah, and gives you somewhere to go with your goals, specific things to improve rather than broad goals.
Yeah.
This was great. Sorry, I have to head out, but I wanted to ask if it might be useful to kind of do a little focus for builders versus repair people, because you have a lot less foot traffic in the shop and stuff, and so the advertising you might want to run is very different. And so, just tossing it out there.
Yeah, I think we will very much talk about builders at some point. I think that is a very good point. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Some of that'll be in specific. Yeah, some of that will be in specific with the hot seat, is particularly doing businesses of builders, and then also with some of these topics where it'll be applicable to both, but we'll make sure to highlight where both of those categories might fall within it. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Max.
All right. Looks like, unless anyone wants to throw some final thumbs up or votes in there, it looks like utilizing Instagram for your business will be our next topic.
Wow. That worked out well. That's your wheelhouse, Hallie.
Yeah, that is indeed.
Kind of all of us. Yeah. I mean, and we'll probably bring another one of our folks next time too. We'll probably bring Grant, who shoots a lot of the video for our Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll send you guys, Grace and Ian, the PowerPoint I have, so you can share that as you so please. And yeah, if there's anything else you guys have questions about or anything comes up later, feel free to shoot us a message.
Cool. Well, everybody, are we done?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody unmute and thank everybody involved, Bryan and Brock and Allie, for hanging out and going over this stuff with us.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Brian. Thanks, Allie. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Dan, you already know how to run a business. Get out of here.
I know how to run it out of business.